Okay, we're going to go ahead and begin. Sorry. We should have a quick study session today, so we appreciate everybody's participation, and we will let Superintendent Dixon take over.
All right, I think we are ready. All right, thank you, Madam Chair. Do I say pro tem? Just Madam Chair. Madam Chair / Vice Chair. Okay. We're actually excited to just give you an update on strategic plan development. As you'll recall from our work in July, we made some great progress, and we might have been as excited or more excited than you may have been as a board. But we feel like it's given us great impetus now as we've been out in the field this summer talking about the board's strategic plan, that there's some meat on the bones to it. And so we want to talk to you about the process moving forward. I know many of you had questions about wanting to see how we progress and how we plan to move forward with strategies, and some of you have wanted involvement in developing those strategies. So we're going to talk to you about the process a little bit today, and then we'll just be open for questions as well. So I want to start with a timeline. I've got to pull this up because I can't see, sorry. Oh, I'm old and blind. I got it, all right. So we showed the timeline to you again last month during this session, but we've made some updates and just want to dig into this a little bit. This is also on board docs, so if you can't see the verbiage there, hopefully you can find it on your docs. So just looking back a little bit, in July then you approved the vision, mission, and goals for public feedback. And Barb Puentes in our office created this one sheet that you have at your desk, and just kind of gives you that overview as a reminder of the verbiage that you approved for public feedback. And at the same time, we also talked about, in order to move to some strategy development, that we needed to engage in working groups. So this is just a high-level overview. I'm not going to dig into each one of these dates, but just to draw your attention to the one that's shaded in strategy development on August 13, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about that because we want to invite you to that kickoff development if you're interested. So again, just looking through December, that there are touch points all along the way to come back to you to approve the vision, mission, and goals, and to make sure that we're bringing you feedback from our peers and from the field and from feedback that you get. And then in October board meeting, we are hoping and anticipating that you would consider approving some strategies. And then again, we get into action planning and development. Our goal is to be able to support this strategic plan at the legislative session in a way that we're all on the same page and confident moving forward. We feel like that will give us great impetus to have funding attached to it, as well as strategies and work out in the field. So that's the timeline. Okay, let's talk about public feedback. So normally when whether it's an agency or a business engage in a strategic plan, it's focused very internally. But we also want to make sure that what we're saying is inspirational, resonates with the field, because part of that strategic plan is metrics. If we are saying that we want to close achievement gaps by a third in all of those metrics that we're looking at, then we have to have buy-in from the field. And if we use terms or we have ideas that are not both inspirational and doable in the field, then it will be, again, words on a page and numbers on a screen somewhere, and it will be all for naught. So in this case, we thought it was really important to get some external feedback as well. So we had a good discussion with you at our strategic planning session, and then we came back to our leadership council, which was made up of our directors and coordinators, and had a conversation with them. And of course, they had some suggested terminology changes just to clarify and maybe more inspirational, but rather than bringing those back to you, we want to gather as much as we can. So the way that we're currently gathering external feedback is going to meetings that were already scheduled, and we talk about the strategic plan and the draft mission and vision, and we ask them for feedback on the terminology and the goals. And at the same time, we thought that you may want to survey your constituency or get, a variety of voices at the table. And so we posted this on Board Docs, but if you're interested, we also have a handout. But basically, we're putting together some questions that we would put a survey together and then post it on our webpage and push it out through social media so that we can get a variety of voices and a variety of feedback. And we'll send you that link. So if you had people that you wanted to put it out to, or you wanted to add it to your Twitter account or post on Facebook or however you go about that. So we'll have you look at that, and if you're okay with the questions. Somebody's really making noise over there. I'm just kidding.
Sorry. What was going? Oh.
2 weeks or, anyway, it's not important. I'm just having issues because they're my favorite bikes, so I'm listening very well.
And you're sitting here? I wouldn't even be sitting here. I'd be like,
I just got a contact from the police officer, so that's why I'm through my phone.
I just saw a phone go up in the air and there was momentary chaos. I wasn't sure what happened. So I thought you were so excited about the way we were doing the survey that your phone went up in the air, so it threw me a little bit.
Sending out notifications.
That's right.
I was going to say, yeah.
She's always,
You have law enforcement help over there.
Do you have a victim's advocate? Madam Chair, I've really taken us off the rails. I am so sorry.
If you want to post a description of the bike, we'll all help find it. Okay. Oh, no.
She's learned an important lesson about walking the road.
yeah. She's right at the front door. I tried to make it easy. Try to be very accessible.
So again, if you want to see this on paper, great, but if you just want to look at Board Docs, either way. So it's kind of the content of a very simple survey that we think might be helpful in getting, as an additional way to get feedback. Do you want it? Okay.
It's on our board.
It is on Board Docs, but if you want a paper copy, you're welcome to it as well. So again, we'll put this into a survey tool and send you the link. Okay, before I move on, do you have questions or comments about public feedback?
Okay, Board Member Lisa Cummins.
Are you sending this, okay, I'm just now seeing it. Responding to the survey. So if you send us the link, we can post it to social media and anybody can.
Right.
Okay,
Yep.
good to know. Thank you.
So a very public-facing survey, and then also getting information from the education field as we have various meetings, and our internal staff. And we think that the internal staff voice is one of great importance because we're the ones that are not only carrying out the vision, mission, and goals and strategies, but speaking to it all the time. And I had some interesting feedback that I thought was really important, and it was about words versus, not words versus, but the words on the page and the way they're delivered. And so I know we spent a lot of time on getting the words right, and I think words are important for clarity and communication, but how we communicate that and the enthusiasm and the vision that we talk about, I think will be the most important thing when it comes to having people buy in. So we want to ensure that our internal staff are all on the same page as this rolls out, and so that we can communicate really clearly, unlike what I'm doing today. Nobody laughed, so we'll move on. Okay. Thank you, Board Member Cummins.
On Q7, you say, oh, never mind. I read it wrong. Can I ask a question? No, what do the mission statement mean? Yeah, what do it mean?
What do it mean?
Just draft.
Yeah. This is not ready for prime time. We're just giving you content, and so if you see anything in content, or we know that there are some issues on there.
So I just wonder when we summarize.
Mike, Linda, Mike. Who's he?
Am I okay
ahead.
now? When we summarize the question 2 and it talks about which best describes you, I never know how to answer this because I always feel like 3 or 4 of them, right? And so that's all always difficult.
So you can set them up so that it's more than one.
So I think that might be helpful.
You'd like
for
us to
you.
do it
Well,
more than one?
Well, I just wonder if we get information back, if it would be helpful to know.
Yeah, you can do
Yep.
choose all that apply, so we
all
can have a
that
drop
apply
down
instead
menu.
of just one person, because I never know which one I am.
Okay, it's good
I always
feedback.
have lots of hats.
Okay, so we would encourage you as you look through that sheet, or whether you're looking on board docs, if you have suggestions, we're trying to keep it very simple and really get people to respond to the ideas and the verbiage behind the vision and mission goals. All right, so now we get to the strategy part, and the strategy links back to, again, those layers. The strategies are directly linked to the goal, but they should also take us back to being able to carry out the vision. So in order to kick this off, we're going to have work groups, and we've defined the co-facilitators for those work groups, trying to do that across the agency. So let's say if we look at early learning, it might be logical that we would just use folks focused on literacy, but we've made sure that we have a cross-section because remember, we're trying to move towards convergence. So we make sure that somebody from data and statistics, from IT, from assessment, from CTE, you know, a variety of places would work together in that work group to help develop some draft strategies to bring back to you. And we want to invite you to this August 13th meeting. Of course, if 8 or more of you attend, then we would need to notice and treat it differently. So we would need an RSVP if you're going to come. And so on this day, you've heard us talk about design thinking and how that methodology or way of thinking about our work has been really helpful to us in terms of convergence and thinking really outside of very traditional ways of doing our work. And it's a way that you really engage stakeholders because you're starting with empathy first and you're trying to think about how stakeholders would respond to the work that you're doing, whether it's creating a product or a process or a policy. And so this design thinking that's been so helpful to us, we're bringing Bobby Parmar back in. And this is something that our comp center, West Comp Center, provides for us at no cost to us at all. So we're really grateful for him to come in from the University of Virginia. And he will be leading some work around strategy development, but really focused on how to engage, how and when to engage stakeholders in the process. So I think that will be a really important piece of this work. So again, this is not a time when we're necessarily developing the strategies, all of the strategies, but it's teaching those who are at the table how to develop the strategies. And then we'll have further work with the work groups where they'll flesh those out and bring those to you. So it's a space for those of you that are interested in helping with strategies to be involved. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so moving. Yeah.
Board Member Lisa Cummins, sorry.
Couple of questions. What is the time and location for that meeting? And second, is our board members invited to participate, or are we there to listen and learn and hear what other stakeholders? What is our role in that meeting?
So we would invite you to come and participate, especially in learning how to develop strategies. So we will put you to work if we don't want you sitting on the back wall.
I'd rather not, yes.
And if you're going to come, we're going to put you there. Now, knowing though that the strategy development will be ongoing that we bring back to you.
Mm-hmm.
So this is partly training, and then on the 14th, do you want to go to that next slide? So during this span of time, then those working groups that are internal will continue to meet and develop those strategies. And so we'll make sure that you know when these meetings are as well. So it's not just this one meeting that you attend, but if you want to continue on in helping develop the strategies, we'll make sure that you have all the information about when they are. And this is what we were talking about, the calendars earlier. You have the board Google Calendar that Emily has set up, so we'll make sure that they're posted there, and then also send those to you by email. But again, we always need you to RSVP to Lorraine, so anytime that we have 8 or more, it changes the nature of how we notice and what we do. Mm-hmm. So back to the 13th, that will be held here, Basement West, is that right?
Probably.
We're thinking in Basement West, and starting at 8. Okay, 8 o'clock on the 13th, and we'll send you out an email so you have all of this.
It's actually in the boardroom.
Oh, okay, it'll be right here. We fibbed.
Did you have a
I
question?
fibbed. We'll be here.
Did you? That was a
Okay.
question. Okay.
And again, you will really, Dr. Parmar he's great. To have an outside facilitator teaches So he's teaching us the process, and we're doing the work within the process. It's a really great way to learn from him. So by raise of hands, can we just see how many might want to be involved? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Do you see any more than that? Okay. All right. So we'll ask for hard RSVPs to Lorraine so that we know that in case we need a notice. Okay. I think that's.
Until noon.
Yeah, noon on the 13th, noon. It's a shorter day. And then these meetings, the 14th through the 25th, we would anticipate they're anywhere from like 2 to 4 hours. I don't know if we'll have, it's hard to find people who can stay all day, so they'll probably be shorter chunks of time. But if you can make that morning of the 13th, I think you'd find it really worthwhile. Okay, what questions do you have? Because that's really it.
Okay. Oh, Board Member Cummins?
Is there something other than, what do we need to come, is there anything that you would recommend coming prepared with? Like, is there any research or any, that thing? Okay.
Yep, I think if you just come prepared,
Okay.
knowing that, again, you're learning a little bit more about the process, and we're going to focus on stakeholder engagement primarily. I mean, there will be other pieces. Is there anything you want to add to that?
No, I was just thinking as far as resources, we could share that some of the design thinking resources that some of the staff have been reviewing for anybody who's interested.
Yeah, any and extra all information that would be pertinent would
Yeah.
be fantastic.
They're mainly books, so I wonder if we just lend some of our
I
copies
like
to
books.
anybody
I have
who's interested.
7 shelves full.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So come to me if you're interested in lending one of those books.
Lending.
Did y'all hear that? If you want a design thinking book by Dr. Parmer, come see Chief of Staff Stanley. Somebody has already taken mine. It's probably where your bike is. I don't know. Does not have a serial number on it. And then we will send you additional information that we sent out prior. We had a 2-day training for staff that was just really concentrated on design thinking. It was really powerful. And our staff has
Design
asked for
thinking.
more, so.
Is that a new term for creative thinking? Design thinking? Similar? No?
Not,
I'll have to
there's
look.
certainly creativity involved, but it's a
Okay.
little bit different.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so then that concludes the strategic plan portion, so you're welcome to move into the study session master planning.
One of the benefits of attending ECS is you hear ideas that perk your interest. And so one of the ideas that was shared at the Education Commission of the States meeting that we talked about yesterday was this idea of mapping out over the course of a year study session topics. And for those who have done it, particularly Washington, D.C., I think was the one that was highlighting for their board how they've engaged in this process. So they think thematically, and in the sense that we have a strategic plan, it might be really helpful to think in terms of the strategic plan. But they map out for a calendar year, January to December, the study session topics. It helps in 2 ways. One, it helps us to sort of prep ahead of time and think very strategically, not to overuse a phrase, but what is most helpful to the board in terms of policy making or moving forward, or what do you need to know and want to be informed about in a deeper way, that then you can turn around and influence the conditions for success. So that's one benefit. The other benefit, thinking about some of the turnover on the board come January, is sort of a reset, right? So you have, if it's even one new board member, it resets the dynamics a little bit. And so it enables you thinking forward about if somebody comes with an idea, you can say, oh, you know what, we're going to talk about that in June. So you can kind of that person can be crafting some ideas and research and background for that topic if it's in June, for example. So it helps you lay out this course of study. It's almost like not a Vita,
Learning agenda?
a learning agenda for the year. So just one way to think about it. So we thought we would bring it forward. We don't have a feeling one way or another about it, but we thought we would put that in front of you and see if it's something that you're interested in trying to develop. And if so, then what are some topics that you think might be of interest? So,
Board
just an
Member
idea.
Hanson?
So like I talked about technology, right? I think we could use, maybe not everybody could use it. Kathleen probably could teach it. But how to, when we were in that technology task force that you,
Computer science?
yes, everybody knew how to do stuff I didn't know. They knew how to do those electronic parking lots and all of that stuff. I think that would be very helpful for the board to know how to use all of the technology that way.
Yeah.
And some of us probably already know it, and some of us know nothing.
You could
So-
put that Padlet up, start putting.
So it would be
ideas
nice
in
if we could do that, Outlook, maybe, or maybe some people don't know how to use these things, but I think it would be really helpful. And maybe some of the board members could say the kinds of things that they'd like to learn how to do better. Or maybe you would just have some ideas on how we could be more efficient as a board, what some of the tools we could use.
Okay.
So and then there's one other thing I wondered about, and maybe this is a board leadership question too. As I go out and visit my local boards, often they're reading a book together, right? There's a book that they're reading, and they have like a chapter, and then they discuss, and I'm wondering if that would be a good thing for us to do too. So that would help our leadership skills or whatever topic we decide we need help with. There's so many great authors out there. I just wonder if it would be something the board would like to do together.
Great idea.
And Kathleen's telling her to shut up over here. I don't think there's a book called that.
And just on that topic, I want you to know that as a staff, we've had book studies. There are some that are smaller group, but we read Cotter's book together on leadership and change, and then we studied design thinking together. So, and it's really helpful. So we should also be thinking about inviting you to read along with us when we are studying a book as well.
Okay, Board Member, or Vice Chair Ellis?
I'm okay with a book club, so to speak. However, I would want to be able to suggest books also, because books are just like us and we all come from different viewpoints and perspectives. And if we could throw out different perspectives, I think it would be very beneficial. But that's not what I was trying to comment about. I think that mapping out the study sessions for the year is fine as long as we're fluid, because we don't want it to be a mechanism to end up silencing voices when people have something that is, sometimes things just come up and they're kind of a hot issue. And so we just need to be fluid in that and make sure that we were willing to move if we needed to.
Great idea. And you'll note that we're using a technology tool called Padlet. And so this is one of the things that Board Member Hanson was talking about. So it's just like a digital parking lot where we're trying to capture your ideas.
But it's not on our, it won't be on board docs.
It's like Post-it notes.
It doesn't talk to board docs.
So when this topic came up in the executive committee the other day, I thought it was an exciting idea, the concept of looking, because sometimes we look at a topic and it's somewhat related to another and we end up repeating ourselves. And so this will help us to consolidate concepts and ideas. But the intent was that we would schedule like a year out for portion, and we'd have to be flexible with timing. One topic may be an extended topic and one may be very short. Like Linda's technology is more of a training, and it probably wouldn't take hopefully it wouldn't take a couple hours, but do you know what I mean? And so we would look at it very flexibly and then have room for pressing issues, things that might come up during the year or things that are important to people. So I think it's, as we move forward, it gives us kind of that outlook of what we can accomplish in a year, but also the flexibility that we need. So. Vice Chair Ellis?
Thank you. She just triggered something. When you're talking about things like training, and Board Member Hanson recognized that not everybody would need the same tools. And so I'm wondering if that would be more appropriate outside of a study session, but more of a training where, we say we're going to train on OneNote today, anyone that's able to come, which I know not everyone can come, but not everybody comes to study session either. But that way, not everybody feels obligated to sit there if it's something they already know how to do. And it's just a thought.
We have Thursday mornings now,
Well, the concept.
What did we get rid of?
coming next year.
So to be clear, the concept when we were talking about it, so next year, right now, study session is the last thing, and next year's study session will be the first thing. And so anything that would be training that might be, some are interested, some aren't, we would do the first thing. And so if you want to come to that training, you would come. If you don't want to come to that training, you just come to the next segment, which would start half an hour later or an hour later, et cetera. And so, and then that would allow you as board members to have input. What do you want training on? And as well as what are those topics of study that we want to look deeper into, with the intent that here's something I want to understand better, and how to create action out of that study. What is it that you want to get out of it and move forward as policy or as a board priority? So, Board Member Lear?
I don't know if this is even possible. I was just kind of trying to process it really quickly under the Open and Public Meetings Act, but it seems like there are occasionally items on the agenda that merit more discussion, and where people would just like to, they'd like to state their opinions about it, whether or not it changes anything, and that sounds more amorphous than I intended. But I wish we could take big items on the agenda and make them study session items so that they wouldn't clog up the agenda. Is that even possible?
So,
Yeah, like the licensing, like the big licensing rule, or the discussion of ESSA, where the board might take action, but it wouldn't completely derail the agenda. Well,
so normally we don't take action.
It would
We
be a board
can,
meeting.
we can create an action, we can put it on the agenda as potential action on any item that we want to. And so it's just however we craft the study session, the intent of it, and what is the action that we can take. So those are possibilities, things that can be done. And so if there's things that you want to take a deep dive, a conversation that you want, then that would be something you would request in our year's plan of something that we could talk about.
And can I follow up to that? And I don't know that, and this goes to Elisa's point about maintaining flexibility, because I don't know that we'll always know a year in advance or 6 months in advance, but we probably should have foreseen that the ESSA discussion would have been a more prolonged discussion, and same with the licensing rule. And I think those things deserve that time, and I'd rather spend that time on those items of substance than things that we're sort of just reaching to spend time on, if that makes sense.
Correct, and that was the intent of this plan, is to create very specific, deliberate conversations rather than just, hey, what should we talk about this next month? But it's very deliberate and intended to be something that we either are learning or discussing, so. Okay, then if there's no other comments or questions, I think we'll probably just send out through Lorraine kind of a request for planning over the next little while those study sessions. So look for that and be ready to put your input in. So thank you. That is the end.